things are moving forward on the summit June 12th in Singapore between Kim Jong-un and President Trump.
Yes, the president did stare, and the North Koreans did blink.
How do you counter a president who repeats falsehood after falsehood? There's only one remedy for that, and that is you need to throw the bums out.
He's saying that you should throw the bums out because they're dishonest. But this guy's the champion of dishonesty. He's one of the bums.
Chelsea Clinton bashing the president overseas, saying Trump degrades what it means to be an American.
This is another example of just the great disconnect between the Clinton family and Middle America. Middle America is booming.
In just a few hours, the president will begin his day by laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia.
Live a life that honors the sacrifice of our fallen heroes. Remember them always. And make every day Memorial Day.
Good Monday morning to you. You are listening to the United States Marine Drum and Bugle Corps. We all know this song, Battle Hymn of the Republic, one of the best, and we are so lucky to have them playing with us all morning long. No better way to honor Memorial Day, because that is what it is ultimately about. All those brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms and for this great country.
That is right. As you wake up, we hope you enjoy this Memorial Day and remember that it was the ultimate sacrifice, that so many who answered the call to fight for our freedom that gave us these barbecues, these friends, these families, and the ability to enjoy a day like today.
It's an honor to be on the couch today with Griff, Abby, myself, as we bring you some amazing stories of heroism throughout the course of the day. Also, we're going to have a little fun. That can't be understated.
A little barbecue later on the show.
A little barbecue, but today is obviously has a message, and it is thank you to those who defended our freedom but gave their lives in doing so.
So we've asked you to send in your photos, friends@foxnews.com, and they keep pouring in, so please keep sending them to us. This one comes in from Carol. Her uncle Henry, who died in World War II while serving on board the USS Harder, which sank back in 1944.
Here's one from Gloria, remembering her brother, Private First Class Juan Ramos, who was killed in Vietnam.
And Donnie sends this one of his cousin, John Ryan Howard. He served in the Marines and was killed in a helicopter crash in Iraq nearly 14 years ago. We remember him and all the servicemen and women who lost their lives fighting for this country. Keep sending us your Memorial Day tribute pictures to your fallen heroes. We will get them on here and put that hashtag Proud American on there. This is what today's about.
And it's about being with family, and I think that's what our men and women who serve want us to do to defend this day. They want us to live a good life. They want us to have those barbecues, be in a swimming pool, enjoy the summer, and be with the people that we love the most.
And stay tuned to Fox News. There's going to be several events taking place in Washington at Arlington National Cemetery. Of course, the president laying the wreath a little bit later this morning. But, you know, it's a great place. If you ever get a chance, go there. And particularly, there is one section, Section 60, dedicated to all those that have fought in the global war on terror since 2001.
It is a great place. All right, well, there's a lot of news to get to and some breaking news coming out of North Korea. The high stakes about the summit could be back on track.
A U.S. delegation on the ground meeting at the DMZ trying to salvage the sit-down between President Trump and dictator Kim Jong-un.
Garrett Tenney live for us in Washington, D.C. with the very latest. Garrett, this story keeps changing every 24 hours.
It certainly does. We saw both sides making a bit of an effort this weekend to try and ease those tensions and move back towards holding this summit. And on Saturday, South Korea's president even met with Kim Jong-un to discuss the on-again, off-again summit, and he seemed to make some progress, saying afterwards, Chairman Kim made clear again his intent for complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, and he expressed his will to bury the history of war and confrontation and cooperate for mutual peace and prosperity. Well, the next morning, just a few days after canceling the summit and blasting Kim Jong-un, President Trump stuck a very different tone, tweeting, "Our United States team has arrived in North Korea to make arrangements for the summit between Kim Jong-un and myself. I truly believe North Korea has brilliant potential and will be a great economic and financial nation one day. Kim Jong-un agrees with me on this. It will happen." There is still one major issue that two sides have not agreed on, and that is what the denuclearization of North Korea looks like. What will that entail both sides doing? And ironing out that understanding is a big part of what the U.S. delegation in North Korea is working on this trip. Back to y'all.
We'll see where all of this leads. Garrett Tenney live for us. Thank you, Garrett.
Thanks, Garrett.
My pleasure.
All right, well, there's a lot going on here at home as well, and the president continues to double down, pushing back on the FBI, on the Russia probe, but also asking some serious questions to Barack Obama, former President Obama. And here's what he tweeted out yesterday. He says, "Why didn't President Obama do something about the so-called Russian meddling when he was told about it by the FBI before the election? Because he thought crooked Hillary was going to win, and he didn't want to upset the apple cart. He was in charge, not me, and did nothing."
And we asked Dan Bongino to weigh in on that, especially the word spy that the liberal media seems to not like to use and to get mad when other people use said word. Here's what Dan Bongino had to say a few moments ago.
The reason they're dancing around this spy versus informant narrative, the role of Obama, let me explain this to you quickly. Spy would mean it was someone from the outside inserted or designed to interact with the campaign to get information, meaning someone told them to do it. An informant would have been someone inside the operation that saw something negative and wanted to come out and speak about it. That's why they're not using the word spy, precisely because it implicates Obama, who put him from the outside into the Trump campaign.
So a lot more on that. And then, of course, it is Memorial Day, and I've got to get this in there. This is the best thing you're going to see on this Memorial Day. Nobody does it better than Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL, retired U.S. Navy SEAL, who has a podcast. He has a Silver Star, a Bronze Star for his heroic actions in the Iraq War. Here is Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL, reminding us all what today is about.
I, the soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine, I stood my ground and sacrificed my life. My future, my hopes, my dreams, I sacrificed everything for you. This Memorial Day, remember me, the fallen warrior. And remember me not for my sake, but for yours. Remember what I sacrificed so you can truly appreciate the incredible treasures you have. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. You have the joys of life, the joys that I gave up so that you can relish in them. A cool breeze in the air, the gentle spring grass on your bare feet, the warm summer sun on your face, family, friends, and freedom. Never forget where it all came from. It came from sacrifice, the supreme sacrifice. Don't waste it. Don't waste any of your time on this earth. Live a life that honors the sacrifice of our fallen heroes. Remember them always, and make every day Memorial Day.
Make every day Memorial Day. Boy, I'll tell you, from a guy that's been in the blood, sweat, and tears, that is exactly, nobody's going to say it better today. And you can watch the entire podcast. It's about 10 or 12 minutes at jockopodcast.com. We've posted it to our website.
That might be one of the most powerful things I've ever heard. That's what today's all about. You know, I come from a military family. My brothers are in the Navy, and that's why they do what they do. They do it for all of us. So Thank you to him for sending that message, and I hope everyone listens to that today.
Abby, they're proud to do it. They're proud. A little later, the 4 men that died in the Iraq War that I was embedded with wrote a letter to their parents, and they said, don't be upset. This is what I truly wanted to do, to serve. It's the meaning of service.
And this is why on our news channel, the Fox News Channel, specifically our show, Fox and Friends, we get so emotional. We get so fired up with what we do here on a day in and day out basis, because so many other aspects of our society don't honor those who did what those people did. And we try to do a little bit each and every day to try to make that happen.
Well, but news continues. Yes. Jillian has joined us.
Jillian, on that note,
to give us some news.
I was
I'm just standing over here watching.
Wasn't it powerful?
It is powerful. It absolutely
really
is. And you should go online and watch the whole thing if you have time this morning. In the meantime, let's get you caught up on some news that we're following with this Fox News alert. A desperate search underway for a man missing after flash flooding ripped through historic Ellicott City. The Maryland city under a state of emergency. Rescue crews pulling at least 30 people from flooded homes and cars. Officials now assessing the damage left behind. The same area still recovering from devastating flooding just 2 years ago. Down south, evacuations underway in Florida's Panhandle as subtropical storm Alberto nears the coast. We will be live in Pensacola in about 45 minutes. Stay tuned for that. Former President George H.W. Bush back in the hospital being treated for low blood pressure and fatigue. A family spokesman says he is awake and is alert, but will likely stay in the hospital for a few days. Just a day earlier, the former president visited veterans at an American Legion pancake breakfast near his summer home in Maine. Freed prisoner Josh Holt and his family could be back home in Utah as early as tomorrow. Right now, they're being treated at Walter Reed Medical Center. Holt, an American, traveled to Venezuela to meet his wife. They were arrested, accused of stockpiling weapons, and held for 2 years. After painstaking negotiations, President Trump was able to help secure their release. And on this Memorial Day, President Trump will honor heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. In just a few hours, the president will begin his day by laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. He's expected to make a speech along with Defense Secretary James Mattis. And we will have that on Fox News.
That's one you don't want to miss. Yeah. Thank you, Jillian.
Thanks, Jillian. Here's a new idea on how to pay for President Trump's big, beautiful wall. Crowdfund it. Good idea. Congresswoman who's trying to get it done, Diane Black, joins us live next.
In a real life, Spider-Man jumps into action when a baby is in... Welcome back. One GOP lawmaker is taking funding for the border wall into her own hands, introducing new legislation that would allow crowdfunding for the wall.
The bill would, quote, allow the Secretary of the Treasury to accept public donations to fund the construction of a barrier on the border between the U.S. and Mexico and for other purposes. Here with more, former chair of the House Budget Committee, Congresswoman Diane Black. Congresswoman, great to have you on this morning. It's an interesting idea. Lay it out for our viewers. What would this mean? What would this entail?
Well, this would just entail setting up a dedicated fund where people who truly believe what the president believes is that we should secure our borders would have an opportunity to be a part of that in crowdfunding. And because the Democrats will not go with the Republicans in funding the wall, we thought this was a good idea to give the American people a chance to have a voice in it. And you just would not believe the kind of response we've had, not just in my district, but across the entire country.
Congresswoman, it's a very interesting idea, but has anything like this ever been done before?
Well, actually, there has been crowdfunding before for something in our country that we all love, and that's the Washington Monument. Many years ago, when the monument was just half completed, the American people rose up, and state by state, there were donations to help to fund it. And if you go to the Washington Monument, you'll see those plaques along the wall there that show that the American people wanted that project to be completed.
Wow.
And I think we ought to do the same kind of thing when either groups come together or states come together and say we want to be a part of this because we think it's important, that they will have a plaque on the wall.
No idea about the Washington Monument. That is so interesting. So where does this sit now? Obviously, this is an idea of yours. You've proposed it. What needs to happen so that the people that want to put money towards that, they can go online and actually do it?
So, Abby, right now, they can go in and they can go online, they can send a check. However, the problem is it will just go into the general fund, and there's nothing to say that their dollars would be used. And so what this does is sets up a dedicated fund. And we just need to get a requisite number of sponsors, and then we'll be able to bring it up in committee and pass it in the House and then take it over to the Senate. So it is a process, and we are going through the process. But it has been unbelievable to me how much response we've had from across the country, not just my own state, but across the country.
Have you talked to the White House about this?
Well, the president does know about it. I hope the president is watching this morning and that he will give a shout out at different events that he does. As a matter of fact, he's going to be here in Nashville tomorrow, and I hope he'll give a shout out on the stage to the people here in Tennessee that want to fund the wall that he believes is necessary and the American people believe is necessary.
Well, it's a great idea. Thanks for coming on. I'm not sure Americans are going to jump on it right away because they may be waiting to see if Mexico pays, but it's certainly a solid idea, and it's fascinating that the Washington Monument also got funds that way.
Well, thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
You learn something new every day, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
All right.
All right, up next, could Franklin Graham turn California red? He's got a plan.
But first, Chelsea Clinton takes her Trump hating overseas, slamming him for, quote, degrading what it means to be American. Candace Owens, she's got something to say about that. You don't want to miss it. She is joining us live, and she is fired up.
23 minutes after the hour now on your Memorial Day Monday. Time for your news by the numbers. First, 1.1 million. That's how many cars were just added to the Takata airbag recall in Australia. Those airbags have been linked to at least 18 deaths around the world. More than 30 million cars have already been recalled here in the U.S. That is not a good number. Next, 10. That's how many rallies evangelist leader Franklin Graham will hold in California. He wants to get Christians to go out and vote for conservative candidates in next week's primary. And finally, $15,000. That's how much money NASCAR driver Jeffrey Earnhardt raised for children of fallen service members. He sells T-shirts with a veteran-owned clothing line to fundraise for an organization that helps those kids deal with their grief.
That is so great. Thank you, Todd. All right, we'll move, switching gears here, if I can speak. Chelsea Clinton taking her anti-Trump comments overseas, bashing the president to The Guardian ahead of his upcoming visit to the UK in July, saying this: I've been to multiple protests since the election. If I lived in Britain, I would show up to protest because I don't agree with what he's doing to degrade what it means to be American.
Chelsea also said that President Trump mainstreamed hate. Here to discuss, Director of Urban Engagement at Turning Point USA, Candace Owens. Candace,
Hey,
morning.
Candace.
Thank you guys for having me back.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Pretty strong rhetoric, really over-the-top rhetoric. What do you make of it?
I thought it was interesting, ironic to say the least. It's almost as if she doesn't know that her father faced impeachment over a White House sex scandal. But beyond that, I think that her and her mother seem to degrade what it means to be a strong woman. They fall into every stereotype of women being whiny, women being over-emotional, women being unable to move on from certain instances. You know, I can't think of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I can't think of any other person that was running for the White House that has gone on this long and disrespected the person that beat them.
She got... at one point, she was talking about Ivanka Trump, who I know that you've met and gotten to know.
Yeah.
Basically says she's complicit in whatever her dad does, whatever he says, and how there were moments in her life where she's disagreed with her mom on things like gay rights and the LGBT rights and those sorts of things. Just maybe a reminder that she's thinking about running for office. Is this ultimately about Chelsea Clinton?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be. Maybe she's trying to present herself that way. I think it would be an incredibly bad idea, but I would totally support it. I think it would be fun to beat another Clinton. I totally do not respect what their family represents. I stand fully behind Ivanka Trump, who is just a lovely human being who I was able to spend some time with on Friday.
Yeah, you were there at the White House on Friday. So give us a sense of who you met with and what happened.
I met with our president. It was so exciting. Ivanka was there as well. We spoke obviously about Black America. The president, despite the fact that alleged black leaders disrespect him at every possible turn, he is dedicated to fixing so many crises that are going on in the black community, and he does that every single day. He's got so much energy, and he's passionate about it. He genuinely cares. He was educating me on issues. So it was remarkable to be there and to really sense his energy and his dedication, and I'm telling you, he has such a fighting spirit.
Candace, do you think the mainstream media will ever see what President Trump is doing for the African-American community?
Oh, they already see it. Will they ever acknowledge it? Absolutely not, because it would mean to go against everything that they once said about him while they were running. It would mean to humble themselves, and they have too much ego at this stage to ever do that.
But will the message get across to the African-American community
Yes.
as to what the president's doing.
Yes, it will, and I am making sure of that. At Turning Point USA, we've been working on this undercover project. It's why I met with Secretary Ben Carson last week. It's why I met with the president. And look, his numbers are up in the black community. They are starting to see the results, and that's what will matter. This will be an administration that is remembered for its results, not what the media interprets it as.
We have some work to do, though, as you know, on the Republican side of President Trump with those African-American numbers. So a lot of work to be done. It's something that you're very passionate about. We always love having you on talking about it.
Thank you guys
Good
so
to
much
see you,
for having me.
Candace. All right, coming up on the show, several Gulf states bracing for a direct hit by a subtropical storm. Coming up, a live report from Pensacola Beach, Florida. That is where it is all going down in a few hours.
Plus, he's usually in this place. Now he's in that place. Steve Ducey, live at the Folds of Honor Patriot Cup in Oklahoma. Mr. Ducey, good morning.
Good morning to you as well, Todd and Griff and Abby. The sun is up here in Owasso, Oklahoma, and right behind me is the 8-story tall Dream Ship of Rite Aid. Why exactly are they taking part today here in Patriot Cup Day at the Patriot in Owasso? Find out from the president of Rite Aid and Major Dan Rooney. It's a big day in Oklahoma, and we'll be live from here in 2 minutes. And we'll be in 2 minutes.
Get it.
Do not adjust the volume on your sets. That right there, folks, was the U.S. Coast Guard silent drill team demonstration. And how awesome was that?
Wow.
Semper Paratus.
Yeah.
That's the Coast Guard's
That's
motto.
amazing. How lucky are we to get this out in our plaza this morning? All morning long.
And how lucky is Steve Ducey? Let's go to him now.
Yeah, today as we remember the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom, one organization continues to ensure that their families' educational needs are taken care of.
And this Memorial Day weekend, Folds of Honor holds its Patriot Cup golf event from Owasso, Oklahoma.
And that is where Steve is live for us this morning. Mr. Ducey, good morning.
Good morning to you as well, everybody in Studio F. Once again, ever since the get-go, Fox and Friends has been here for the Patriot Day, and this is Dan Rooney. He's the guy who started Folds of Honor, and this is Kermit Crawford. He's the top guy over at Rite Aid. We're going to talk to Kermit in just a minute, but first of all, Dan, for the folks who are watching right now, who had the day off, and they want to think about Memorial Day, you have made it your life's work to make sure that the children of the fallen and the disabled are taken care of. And you have awarded, and this is stunning, they had the big gala last night. So far, he's awarded 16,000 college scholarships, high school scholarships, school scholarships, vocational scholarships. Why do you do it?
Yeah, and we announced last night 5,000 more scholarships next month, over $20 million to support the spouses and the children of our fallen and disabled. And it's Memorial Day, and I didn't tell you this last night, but I'll hit 20 years as a combat aviator in July. And you understand that freedom isn't free. And when you sit here in Owasso, Oklahoma, and you listen to the rumble of the flag as the wind goes through it, that's freedom. And that is why we are here, to remember not only those fallen, but the families that we support.
Absolutely. And right now we can hear the flags in the background. We got about 1 million of them here at the Patriot. And Kermit, right behind us is your Dream Ship. On that, it's a quilt of messages from children with their dreams, right?
Yes, absolutely. The Dream Ship was brought to life in 2016 as a partnership with the Folds of Honor from Rite Aid. It has 130 unique designs of the children that have received the scholarships from the Folds of Honor, and it travels across the country, bringing awareness and raising funds for the Folds of Honor.
What's your favorite dream on that Dream Ship?
There is a dream of a young man that wanted to be a fighter pilot, and I had that dream, and together with Kermit, we make dreams take flight. Now, Rite Aid has donated over $7 million, and they have an incredible program called Kid Sense, when Rite Aid customers can go in and round up their change. I call it rounding up for freedom, but it's this incredible life-changing program that we have with Rite Aid.
Why is Rite Aid involved?
You know, Steve, Rite Aid was looking for a way to bring our corporate value of being a caring neighbor to life in a meaningful way, and to not only to support our military and to support children. And so the relationship we have with Folds of Honor, meeting Major Dan, understanding the work that the organization does, meeting the families of the Folds, it just really, you know, got to our heartstrings. And we're so impressed by the organization and just so proud to be a sponsor of Folds of Honor.
I was very impressed. His company wrote you a big check last night, and they've been doing it for a while.
They have, and literally dreams taking flight. So as I said, 5,000 scholarships this year to spouses and children. And I think when we sit here on Memorial Day, Steve, the worst nightmare of every veteran would be not coming home. And we recognize the over 1 million veterans today who have paid that ultimate sacrifice. But to truly support the less than 1% that wakes up every day to defend our freedoms, to have their back, to take care of their families. There is no more noble thing to do in Kids Sense, and the Rite Aid Foundation has stepped up to ensure we don't leave any family behind on this Memorial Day.
In addition to being a fighter pilot, Dan also is an unbelievable golfer, and that's why we are in Oklahoma today, to do some golfing. That's why I am actually appearing, as I do once a year, in short pants, because we're going to golf. How do you get all these CEOs, these celebrities, these sports figures to come to Owasso to play golf, to raise money for the families of the fallen, as you've been talking about?
I think they understand that freedom isn't free. And time is our ultimate commodity, as we talked about last night. That's the gift of time. And either we fill it or it'll fill itself. And for guys like you to come to Owasso, Oklahoma, look up, the skies are Cavu, but we're going to have John Daly on, John Rich later. There's celebrities, tour players that come together to celebrate the core values today of God, country, and golf in that order. And your golf game is amazing. Don't sell yourself short.
You know, he's a wonderful guy, but he's a liar. I am a terrible golfer. Kermit is a good golfer, but it is so much fun. And I got to tell you, there's no place I would rather be than here in Owasso with you today, because it's such a great thing. And for the folks at home who are watching, who would like to help Major Dan and Folds of Honor put scholarships in the hands of those who need it, go to foldsofhonor.org.
Amen. Freedom is not free. God bless you for being a great American, Kermit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Major Dan. Thank you, Steve.
All right. Back to the studio.
Steve, before we let you go, you were talking about your shorts there. If we could bring back the full screen of the jacket you wore last night, do you think that helped you raise more money for Folds of Honor?
Well, that's a good question, because last year when I was with Dan at the gala,
Look at that.
Dan gave me that camo jacket. What kind of camo is that, Dan?
That is the Tiger Vietnam Gin camo, and you wear it so well.
That is legit, Steve. You should bring that back to the couch.
Seriously.
I'm loving it. It's a powerful jacket.
Every day.
All right, thank you, Steve. It is such a great tradition. We always appreciate Dan Rudy and all that he does. Folds of Honor. We'll have that information as well on our website. Steve, thanks so much.
We're going to check back in with you a couple more times throughout the course of the morning. Looking forward to that. John Daly.
A lot going on this morning as well. Some other headlines we are following. Jillian with some of those this morning.
That's right. Good morning. Let's get you caught up on some of the stories we're following, including this. A drunk man who started a mid-air brawl over beer faced